Hey folks, I'm Domotro, and about a year ago, I learned something quite interesting about eggs, and I haven't been able to stop thinking about it since. So I figured I want to not only test what I apparently learned, but also take it further than I could find any data about. You see, when we cook an egg, there's many ways to do that. But if you boil an egg in just water, you assume that's going to be a somewhat linear, predictable process. Like, for example, the white part of it, once it gets hard-boiled, will just stay white, right? Well, apparently some strange things happen if you boil an egg for more than 7 hours. Now to begin, I wanted to test if I could boil some eggs in an old-fashioned way, on a campfire, in my combo classroom.
Let me get some water, Carlo. This isn't working. Okay, let's go. This will boil a lot faster with a lid. Carlo, let me get some sort of lid.
Well, it was not easy trying to boil eggs on a campfire. I did manage to make a semi-decent soft-boiled egg, and I was going to continue to try and make a hard-boiled egg, but eventually I decided to switch locations. As fun as it is to cook on a campfire, perhaps we should continue these egg experiments on some sort of stove? Maybe we should use the oven of some. Whoa! Okay, perhaps it'll be easier if me and the oven are in some sort of actual kitchen. I think we can get some more conclusive experiments on our eggs if we bring these to an internal kitchen. So over here, we're gonna plop a couple eggs into some boiling water and test them for varying amounts of time. Let's take out an egg that's been going for about 1/13 of an hour. You're gonna wanna cook a soft-boiled egg somewhere from about 1/12 of an hour to 1/15 of an hour, or in more common terms, somewhere between 4 and 5 minutes. And it can help to cold shock the shell, which makes it easier to crack. Now, the goal of a soft-boiled egg is that you want the white portion of it to have gotten fairly firm, somewhat like a hard-boiled egg is, but that you want the interior to still be soft. You want the yolk in particular to be something maybe you would be able to break over some toast or some hash browns and have a little bit of runniness without the white being annoyingly clear. Now this egg has been in for about 1/6 of an hour, which should give us a good hard-boiled egg. With a hard-boiled egg, our goal is that not only is the white quite firm, but the interior yolk also is quite firm. Makes it easier to eat in like any circumstance. Don't need to toss it on any toast or anything. The whole thing could just be a snack with some salt and pepper. Also, fun fact, if you ever don't know if an egg's hard-boiled or not, you can do a simple spinning test. Ignore the color difference on these eggs. Chickens lay different sorts of eggs. The main difference of these two is actually that this one is a 0-hour uncooked egg, and this one is a 1/6 of an hour hard-boiled egg. When I spin these with similar force, we can see that the hard-boiled egg spins far better. Oh! Now this egg has been in here for at least half an hour, and when you cook an egg for more than half an hour, it ends up becoming overcooked. Not only does the white part of it get a bit more rubbery than you'd want it to be, but the inside gets sort of like bluish gray compared to its normal color. Like this is a nice and orange hard-boiled egg, maybe a little bit on the soft-boiled end, but I feel like most people would enjoy eating that. Look at that nice orange color, and then look at that color. Now, normally, the closest I've gone past the overcooked egg stage was a time where I overcooked the eggs. One time I forgot I was hard boiling eggs. I left them in the pan until all the water evaporated, and when I came back out, the eggs were literally burning on the shells. And then I tried to take one out with tongs, and it exploded from the pressure and heat and whatever crazy stuff happens when you evaporate all of the water out and continue cooking an in-shell egg. So, to go further to reach a 7-hour egg, instead of trying to refill the water and reboil whatever water I refilled a bajillion times, you'd imagine maybe we need some sort of other device to cook eggs in some way in water for 7 hours. Now, the main way I heard recommended to boil eggs for 7 hours long was using a slow cooker set to low. So that's how I began my experiments. I tested the eggs at some points in the process, like a 3-hour slow-cooked egg, which seemed to be like an undercooked soft-boiled egg, a 5-hour one, which was kind of like a weird hard-boiled egg, and a 7-hour one. But the 7-hour egg I slow-cooked to low wasn't very different than a hard-boiled egg. Something had gone wrong with the experiment. This wasn't the 7-hour egg I was looking for. Not only did the 7-hour eggs not cook in my slow cooker correctly, which admittedly is quite an old slow cooker. I inherited it from my grandma a while ago, and I had it plugged in an outdoor outlet that I'm not positive was working correctly, but then, when I was trying to bring the slow cooker, freshly unplugged, full of hot water, back indoors, I slipped in the mud, fell, spilled hot water all over myself. Like, I mildly burnt my hand. In fact, the whole part of my arm that wasn't covered by my helpful lab coat. But then I realized that this is a pretty mild burn for spilling hot water on myself. Like, I know slow cookers set to low shouldn't get that hot, but shouldn't it have burnt me worse? So I figured maybe I need to buy a bunch more eggs, plug in this slow cooker into somewhere more reliable, and set it to high for 7 hours. Now, here's some eggs that I cooked in that slow cooker on high for 7 hours. High isn't recommended by the recipes, but perhaps just because they want the yolk to maintain some certain creaminess I've heard about. Maybe we've gotten the white part to change to some degree. Let's see. Whoa. Okay, that definitely looks different than usual. Okay. Whoa. Like, here's an egg from that last batch of slow cooking on low that looks more like a regular hard-boiled egg. And look at that color difference. Okay, let's look in the insides. Here was the on low that looks a lot more like a mildly overcooked hard-boiled egg. Here is the on high. Tastes pretty similar to a normal egg with a slightly richer flavor. Now, this is pretty interesting, but I think it's on its way to something even more interesting. So we're gonna conduct a few more experiments. I've left a couple of the eggs inside the slow cooker on high that are still cooking. This egg has been in the slow cooker for 12 hours. Oh my God, look, what's up with this dark brown egg white? That tasted pretty good, but I thought we could take it even further. Folks, this egg was cooked for 24 hours. I cooked this egg for 1 day. That, if I ever thought that I would be doing an egg experiment where I set a one blank egg, I would have assumed it either was minutes, an undercooked egg, hours, an overcooked egg, and nothing else. I never thought I would be making a 1 day egg. This egg I've been cooking for 1 day. Let's see what this looks like. Oh my. Okay. This is like really darker than a typical egg. This is a typical hard-boiled egg, and this is the one that I cooked for a day. The color has radically changed. Let's see to what degree the flavor has radically changed. That's better than a typical egg. It loses that bland egginess, gains some kind of nutty meatiness. So why does this reaction occur? This color change was occurring due to what's known as a Moyer reaction, which is a scientific process you're actually very familiar with. This is the same process that makes many foods you're used to, like turning a piece of bread into a piece of toast, change color and flavor and sometimes texture. Like how toast gets browner than normal bread, and how when you cook meat for a bit, it gets an outer layer that's more crispy and delicious in a sort of way. And similarly, many other foods that you're used to eating cooked versions of have undergone this process. Well, I never thought that hard-boiled eggs would undergo that type of process, because even when I overcooked them, they only looked a little weirder than normal. But if you cook them long enough, and that might be enough eggs for one episode. I hope you enjoyed some of these culinary experiments. Thank you all for joining me for today's little snack break. We'll be back with some mathematical mishaps in next episode. Special thanks to the people who helped make this show possible, like the people who helped film this episode, and my Patreon supporters, and to anyone watching, I love you, and I'll catch you again soon.